So if you have to go, feel like you go ahead and go. But if you feel like talking about the ending or what you thought about the movie, just stay for a sec. We've only got about 10, 15 minutes, so if you feel like chatting. It's a long 2 hours. Yeah, Catherine.
I'll just throw something out here. What do you make of the obvious connection between the human and the animal?
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's completely the kind of analogy, right? I mean, it's the question of who's who's humanizing whom and and how is how does one become human in a way, right? I mean, I think that the kind of ending, I mean, I think that in terms of Ali, this question of not being, I mean, she says at one point, let's continue, but let's not be animals, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's and then the sort of idea of her, too, as a kind of, I mean, she is, it's also kind of a Beauty and the Beast story, too, isn't it? Kind of Bene la Bête, he's the Bête. And and her kind of, she has a kind of role. I mean, she's the tamer, right? She's the trainer. So there's also, I think, that kind of analogy there. It's fairly strong about him as the beast, as it were. Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm wondering if in this movie there is some consideration paid to the animal as animal, or is it only in terms of
not being human?
The human animal,
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that with the whale, I mean, there is that sort of certainly great sympathy, right? That she has this beast that has caused this kind of great, tragedy in her life, but but yet there is something there's something kind of holistic about that. I mean, there's nothing. She certainly comes to accept the fact that that's just part of its nature, right? A kind of respect for the animal nature. There's something, in the Orca, right? I mean, there's a respect for its nature, and then there's kind of respect for the animalness of their nature as well, right? Too. So I do think that you have to tease out a lot that sort of animal nature, human, kind of multi-layers in the film. So what did you think about the ending? What did you think about the ending? Yeah.
I thought it was just fine.
Yeah?
There was redemption on three people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was subtle.
Right. So who do you have the redemption? Who are the three? Who's redeemed?
Well, I think she is.
Yeah.
And he is.
Mm-hmm.
He sacrificed for his son.
Right.
And says at the end, finally, that he loves her.
Yeah.
So it's not in your face, but it's good.
Right. So it all comes together. Does it come together too neatly for you?
No.
No?
Well, fast, but not too, a bit fast.
Yeah.
But
So
with the rhythm of the film, I thought it was okay.
yeah. What about? Did you feel? I mean, now that we've seen it, do we feel manipulated by it at all? Because it is the conventions of romantic comedy at some level, right? I mean, if any of you can remember Pretty Woman, right? The kind of classic of all these kinds of romantic comedies. What won't she let Richard Gere do? She won't let Richard Gere kiss her on the lips. So, right, this idea that sort of, so in a movie that goes for this kind of gritty realism, you do find these kinds of conventions of the genre, of the melodrama. of the kind of romantic comedy. And I mean, and in fact, the other thing that struck me is that you have this innocent child in the beginning of the movie. It's sort of like in the play Hedda Gabler. If you've got the gun in the first scene, this innocent child in the first act, you've got to have nearly killed him by the end. I mean, that is, how did folks feel about that? I mean, there is this kind of, I mean, we are really, this imperiled child is the vehicle by which this man is humanized.
But the film needed some dramatic moment, and because that was certainly a high moment in the film.
Right.
I think the film needed that.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't feel manipulated, but
everybody liked that ending? Everybody liked the ending? Yeah? Okay. How about you, Katherine? Did you like it?
Well, now that you point this out, makes me think of the woman who's also, in stories, how the woman is sacrificed so that the man can have a certain redemption.
Yeah.
So the child would fall into that pattern.
Right, yeah.
And I was, of course, you made us think of the two accidents that happened, and so there's a connection between the two. And I'm thinking, the thing that we didn't discuss is why does the Orca misbehave, quote unquote? And I don't know if you're aware, but orcas in, I guess, Disney World or in Florida, there have been, serious accidents with orcas because they are animals that are supposed to be in the wild, not imprisoned in these pools.
Right.
Where they go crazy.
Right.
And
right, like the tiger that ate what was the guy's?
Life of Pi or
No, I'm thinking about the group that's had working with tigers forever, and one of their what's his name? One of the tigers ate him. So right. I mean, I think that's that's really quite true.
how much can one control, really?
Right. Yeah.
Animal like that.
Yeah, and again, I mean, what was interesting too is that those two shots, those two sequences are filmed from underneath, right? That set of perspective where, that camera is underneath the water and looking up, which is a kind of, and so they are, are sort of aesthetically and thematically really made to make a strong parallel between those two accidents, and Audiard likes these accidents. These happen in his movies, or you could call these kinds of destiny, these horrible tragic things that befall people, and part of the hero's struggle is to struggle against them and to overcome them and to transcend them, and again, which is a very sort of classic theme of literature and film, this kind of sense of cursed, right? Going back to Greek tragedy, of a kind of a curse befalls you, and you have to. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the parallel between the two, I'm just thinking out loud, really. But the Orca is not in. He's like a victim.
Too.
Yeah, like the child. Being underwater, and we get to see their perspective that they're being sacrificed in a certain way.
Right. But again, I mean, I guess you do have. I mean, the child and the Orca aren't exactly the same because, of course, the child gets to have now a family, and this again is something that Audiard likes. If you remember the end of The Prophets, the Prophète ends in the exact same way. He comes out of the prison to meet the friend's wife and child. So this is an ending that Audiard likes, this kind of redemption. And this is, I would submit, probably in some ways, a very French ending. It's French in the sort of sense that it's not, it's the family. It's the wife and the child that's meeting you at as you come out of prison. It's not just the girlfriend, but it is this kind of reconstituted family. And I would say that, in some ways, if we're going to talk about a kind of specificity to that movie, that'd be one thing that I would think is very French. And I guess, and if you read criticisms or the critiques of Audiard, I mean, some critics don't like his endings. They don't like the happy ending, which is sometimes criticized But on the other hand, I think it's why people love the movie too, right? I mean, I think it's, it is, I mean, as it comes together in this kind of sweeping and the music, I mean, we just kind of, after we've been kind of bludgeoned literally throughout, watching Ali get, I mean, particularly that one scene when he's on the ground and he's blurry and he's got those blue eyes and that blood. That's a very powerful scene, and so by the time we're done watching this movie and this boxer, we're ready for him to have some redemption,
right.
and so that is, I think, yeah.
I was just thinking how it returns to normal, or it reaches normal, and he was saying at one point about his flings that they were normal.
Right.
Normal. But he didn't know what normal.
Right. And so now he has, so a kind of, it's just like, oh, you just do that. Again, this idea of being an animal. Animals just do that. And now he's not, they're doing something else, right? And what did you make, Katherine, about, I mean, did everybody get the visual joke about the thigh that she has, droite?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did everybody catch that?
No.
Right. Right, droite, the right thigh. Yeah. Did everybody? I don't know if all the I mean, they don't spell that out, but that's also.
I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I didn't get the meaning. I know the word.
Right. So it's the right.
Yeah.
So So, but I, again, this kind of sense that, when you go into surgery, right, they tell what part of the body they're supposed to operate on. And they say, if you're going to go in and have something that's like you're going to have knee replacement surgery, you say, right. Get the right knee and not the left knee, which sometimes happen, those mistakes that can be made. Anything else that kind of jumped out at you, any other comments that anybody wants to?
Well, I think since the ending was upbeat, the filmmaker's kind of humble.
Yeah.
I mean, after all, it's a film.
Yeah.
And it's meant for an audience who wants to leave with a little upbeat.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I mean, he is certainly, I mean, again, who can make these claims, but he is certainly one of the most successful filmmakers working now in Europe. And he has accolades, for the last 4 or 5 films. I mean, he is the man, and people are responding both critically and in a popular way. So these are movies that people are finding very moving. Yeah.
You asked us to think about J'ai faim. Right?
Yeah, J'ai faim. Yeah.
And I was just thinking that the film also touches a little bit on food and the problematics of these foods that would be wasted, and that the sister takes home.
Right.
When they've passed their date.
Yeah, the past due date, right.
Which is a way of recovering and using that food.
Right.
But actually it's illegal, which is surprising.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's also a sort of discussion to have about the whole sort of sociological question. I mean, sociological activist questions, which are the kind using the film, this, whether you want to call it film noir or the melodrama, allows you to kind of talk about this world, that the non-beautiful people, this marginal world, and how they manage to make ends meet. Right? I mean, that's literally in the train. He's going around in the trash and putting a meal together from from people's refuge, right? What people have left refuse. So so making do, this kind of old sense of bricolage, making do with what cards you've been dealt, and still making a meal. I see someone that wants to kick us out up there. That we've got the next screening is at 9:30. So thanks. I really appreciated having a little conversation afterwards.
The little boy was wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Yeah.